All right. So yeah, are you ready?
Yep.
I'm excited today. I'm excited.
Me too. Me too.
I'm excited today. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And today my guest is the amazing Laressa Hu. She is the chief executive and founder of Pulse Branding, a neuro-branding agency founded in Shanghai, China. She's a nerdy soul that's committed to empowering personal and commercial brands with cognitive science and neurotech for the purpose of expanding their positive impact on humanity. We're going to have an interesting conversation today because we will be talking things around neuro-branding and tech. We'll be talking also about the science of love and compassion, which I have some very interesting questions on. We'll talk about, marketing and branding, because I did read something on your website around that. And we'll talk about the Pulse Instinct app. I pretty much tried to look for that, but I couldn't find something. But today's going to be an incredible conversation. I think that you guys are going to enjoy this. And without further ado, this is me and Lareesa. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming on the show again. This was in a rush, sort of, right? It was really fast. All of this happened in the space of like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty like lightning speed.
Exactly.
But I guess when you're in quarantine, there's nothing much going on. So this could actually happen a little faster.
Yes. For people who are listening or watching, Shanghai is currently in a very heavy lockdown. And Larissa is not having a lot of fun. Well, everyone is not having a lot of fun around that.
Hey, you don't know that.
True, I don't know that. Are you having fun in lockdown?
I'm a pretty introverted person, so I do
Okay.
manage to have quite a bit of fun at home.
Great. So, let's kick off the session today with your origin story. So, just to give us like an introduction to how you got to your current career position.
Okay, that's a bit of a long story, so I'll try to keep it short. Basically, I ever since I got into college, I've had sort of a parallel process going on in my career. I started my first startup when I was in college, where I had established my first startup called Lareesa's Bakery. We were the first three cupcakery in Shanghai, and we specialize in delivery. So that was my first foot into the startup world. And 1 year after, the business really blew up, and then I got it set up in a way where it's automatically run. I have 5 staff, and we have a central kitchen. And so while that operation has been established to be automatic, almost very low maintenance, I thought, hey, I will. I think at the time I was 24-ish, and I just did not want to invest like all of my 20s in the kitchen. So I thought I would definitely venture out a little bit, see what's out there. And I was definitely a very lucky soul. I got a job offer at this company. It's a luxury cosmetic company called Halika, and they were selling at Sephora. What they needed was somebody to replace their former distributor in China. I happened to become that person and
Wow.
became the only person based in China in charge of all of the operation, while basically coordinating all of the operation between the agencies in Shanghai and then the headquarters in France and in Hong Kong. So that was
Nice.
one of my first job, kind of full-time job into the corporate-ish world.
Mm.
And it was really beautiful learning experience for 2 years. I think that set me up on a place where I kind of developed a level of standard because of that.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half into that job, it was becoming obvious that the company was being sold. And
Mm.
while while seeing that situation was happening, I wasn't feeling 100% sure whether I wanted to stick to that opportunity for longer time or not. So I thought I would use the use the spare time of my life at the time to sort of establish another operation, which is when I started my second sort of startup operation. I became an Airbnb host, and I flipped around, I don't know, 10, 20 apartments in the span of
Nice.
2, 3 years. It was
Wow. Okay.
incredibly fun experience, but also it comes with a lot of grittiness. I think that experience
Mm.
gave me a lot of grit, having to take care of some of fairly ridiculous scenarios that I would never have imagined could happen into my life. So that happened for a few years. And in the meantime, while that's happening, the company Talika China got sold. I decided not to move ahead into the new company.
Okay.
So while working on the Airbnb, I later on got employed by another company being in charge of 3 fragrance brands: Ferrari, Liujiu, and Atkinson. These are also luxury fragrance brands, and my cosmetic experience lined up with that job perfectly. Also, sort of like a one-man office show sort of situation. And while that was going on, the Airbnb was going on, and I think about 2, 3 years after that, I thought, like I was making quite a good living, but I was so deprived of perfect purpose. Like I had no idea what I was doing, and I've never been that depressed ever in my life during that period of my life. So after a very long and dreadful period of my life, I decided that I'm going to kind of like start my life with a clean slate, just clear all of the things that doesn't bring me the sense of fulfilling and joy, and really explore something new and fun and completely sort of out of the my usual go-to direction. And that's when I became a video producer for a year, and that was honestly one of the most fun journey, I have to say. So that's when I got a taste of kind of like the lifestyle of a freelancer. After that period, I realized that, okay, I really love being able to travel and work
Nice.
100%. And I also got really hooked on scuba diving. And that was like, I tell you, that's a rabbit hole. Like I got started and I got hooked, like so addicted. Every time I go somewhere that has a dive spot, I would clear everything else. It's just like all my mornings are for diving. And then my afternoons and evenings are for kind of like casually, like exploring a bit of the local scenes, but the priority is 100% on scuba diving. So I loved it that much at the time that I wanted to sort of explore a completely different lifestyle, because before then I lived in Shanghai completely, and it's a really great lifestyle, but I just thought there's more to there's a lot more to see. So then I decided to explore the option of having a freelance lifestyle while traveling around, while kind of exploring where I want to be for the next period. So I started being a freelance brand strategist, and I also do graphic design, brand identity design, and sort of self-taught web design along the way. And that gave me a huge amount of experience and totally opened my eyes to something that I love, that I didn't know I could possibly love as much. And the idea at the time was actually to live in Southeast Asia and in China half-half. But, fun fact, Corona hit, and and that option went out of the window. So seeing the situation, I realized that, okay, like if the universe has kind of provided me this platform and given me this rare opportunity where I don't have the choice to be a travel maniac, then it's a perfect time for me to really explore the part of me that could settle down, that could go steady in my life, and then could actually commit to a career without the distraction of that hedonistic lifestyle. So yeah, after actually quite a long period of like traveling, exploring options, and then contemplating moving away from Shanghai, the lockdown happened just at about the perfect time to make me reflect my choices. And one of the conclusions is that currently there is no other city that I want to live in other than Shanghai. So I'm committed to Shanghai for the first time in my life. And in the meantime, I'm also very committed to pursuing the passion in the creative field, combining my other areas of interest and passion. And just after a few months of reflection, strategic calls with all of my friends and mentors, the idea of post-branding came into place. And here we are.
Wow. I feel like you figured out life very early. You didn't have to worry about a lot of things because, I mean, some of the decisions that you had to make that early in life, it just sort of, it's not something that a lot of young people would try. That approach is not the regular style. So I think it's a great testament to you as a person and your character and how you've grown and developed as an individual. But I am curious though, when you moved from corporate to the creative side, like how was that transition for you?
Honestly, in hindsight, it was pretty rough. It was because like the first aspect of it is the lack of financial stability, right? And the resilience in that kind of environment is something that has to be trained. It has to be taught. And it really is something that went completely over my head for a long, long time. And it's just part of the journey. You try something and then you always hit the walls, right? But sometimes the bliss that I had in my 20s is that I didn't know it was a wall because nobody is there working with me, telling me, "Oh, this is so rough. This is like that's so much suffering." It's like when you didn't know you're suffering, you're kind of just like, "Well, I guess it's just another day in the office."
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's just the startup life. You don't know. And so it wasn't quite it was quite challenging because I was depressed. I was not able to get out of bed for a very long time. And I didn't know what was going on. Only in hindsight, now I'm looking back, I was like, oh, damn, that was a very intense period of my life. But that also really, that experience is a major contribution to why I think the way I think, right? Because to really dig deep into who you are, what you want, to dive all the way into all of the unknown, it's a very scary process. And for me, however, I decided to do it not because, oh, it would be fun to go through all of these struggles. Why not? Right? I went into it because I was in so much pain. I was so miserable and I was so purposeless. I thought the only way for me to get out of this process is through this intensive, almost obsessive reflection and research. And that happened to have turned out to be a very good strategy. I think I'm lucky in that sense. Yeah.
Wow. Intriguing. And I asked that question because I recently had a friend who was an astrophysicist. And he's also now transitioned into content production and cinematography. And I'm like, hold on, how do you go from being that to this, And he's just like, I don't know. I just feel like this is more in line with what I want to do. So I think it's quite refreshing when I talk to a lot of young people as well. And people, it feels like it's easier for people now to make decisions towards this is what I want to do that really makes me happy. And I feel like that is necessary in this day and age. And I'll use that to segue into what I really want us to talk about, the concept of neuro-branding, right? So your agency offers this service to clients and customers here in China. First of all, how's that business so far? How's that business been so far?
It's pretty okay. I can't complain. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So let's bring it down to neuro-branding. What is neuro-branding and why is it significant?
So neurobranding, as its pretty self-explanatory by its name. It's a combination of neuroscience and branding. It stems from this concept of neuromarketing that was established, oh God, I don't remember the years, but a while ago, and has been very popular amongst all of the 500 Fortune companies around the world. And it studies because like if you think about this, right? If you do anything to do with customers, anything to do with human being, actually, intrinsically, you want to figure out what makes people tick.
Absolutely.
Right? No matter if you do sales, you do marketing, you do branding, you do product development, all of it, right? You do it for the people. So it goes down to what the people really need. And as time goes by, science has pushed us to a place where we are in this unprecedented time that we have so much knowledge about the human mind. And so my obsession has always been the human mind. I started being obsessed with philosophy, realized a lot of philosophers ended up killing themselves, and I didn't want to go into that. So I pivoted my interest into psychology. Figured, hey, it seems a little more pragmatic. And I was obsessed with it for, I don't know, like by now it would have been 15 years. So it's the kind of obsession where I would just constantly read everything about it. And I'm really sucked into that world of knowledge. And then when I discovered neuroscience, I realized, oh, wow, there is a whole other layer to the human mind. And it is even more tangible than the studies in psychology, right? So for me, it's like, wow, this is taking me to a new place of acceptance, a new place of self-awareness, a new place of body and mind alignment. So naturally, I wanted to use that because it helped me so much in my personal growth, and it helped me so much improving my neuroplasticity through all of the technique that has been proven to be functional nowadays. I thought, like I've been in marketing for 10 years. I've been working with clients from my first business in 2000, I think it was 2013. It was like such a no-brainer to combine these two together. I just sat there and I'm like, hey, when you do marketing and branding, you want to get to people's mind. You want to make them feel good. And there is this particular science that studies all about what makes people feel anything, right? Yeah. Why don't we bridge them together? And it was actually really funny because I didn't learn about the concept neuromarketing and neurobranding until I searched neuroscience marketing. Because when I had the idea, I was like, I have to find out, like, if I can think of it, somebody must have thought about it at one point, right? Like, I am not the smartest human being on earth. Like, I am 100% confident stating that I'm not the smartest person on earth. So if I could think of some idea like that, I assume somebody else already did too. And, love Google. That's what gave me sort of this new direction. And the moment I found out about neuromarketing and neurobranding, I just got really, really, really sucked into it because at the time I was doing brand strategy and I was doing design work. And in my freelance experience working with clients, one thing that really bothered me is just how intangible the whole process is, right? I create a design, I create a visual asset, and then I show it to the client. And then really it comes down to just me and the client or a few other friends going like, oh, I like this. I don't like that. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I just feel like I prefer this one. And everybody has the same ambiguous feedback that just drove me nuts. I studied science growing up. I'm not somebody who would like be happy with ambiguity from all different angles, right?
You need data.
I need data. Exactly. and then lucky us, the data is out there and the data has been collected. It's not as popular yet for people to use these data in that sense, right? Like, so that's what got me into this idea where I want to like eliminate the ego process in our creative meetings in the sense that, oh, I like this better. I am the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
But the CEO is probably not even the target audience at all, right? And you're just simply not in the same persona bracket. And So when you're sitting in the meeting and a group of people that are not the target audience sitting there like trying to establish who has the better taste, who has the authority, it just seems so
It becomes a power
ridiculous.
struggle.
It just doesn't make sense. Exactly, the power struggle. But when you're serving the clients or the market, your ego is completely irrelevant.
Absolutely.
Right? If you want numbers, you want the market to like it. And then you can't know if the market will like it by not asking them and collecting data from them. And by that, I need to specify, I don't mean just any data, I mean accurate emotional data. Right? And that itself already sounds ambiguous enough. How do you do emotional data, right? And that's what neuroscience is for. It's literally there to measure and make emotions presentable in a numerical way, right?
Wow. Great. I think it's a very, like you rightly say, a lot of people are not aware of how this comes into the commercial side of things. Personally, for me, I think I came by neuroplasticity last year, I believe. I was reading the works of I don't know if you know him, Dr. Andrew Huberman. So he's okay.
Yeah.
Well. I think everybody knows him at this point,
I really
right?
like his work. Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And what got me intrigued was it was about a study on sleep and how there's like a lot of myth around sleep. You know, oh, if you don't sleep now, you can just cover that sleep during the day. And he's like, no. And there's data and science around these things. So that was where he got me into neuroplasticity. I'm like, hold on, what exactly is this thing? It sounds close to what I've known and worked with for a lot of years. I don't know if you remember, I was telling you about insights. So what I was exposed to around marketing is more of decision making and emotional intelligence and behavioral psychology. But I had no idea about neuroplasticity until I came across Huberman's work. And I'm like, oh my God, now this just makes more sense to what, how we can use this thing logically and in business. Because also as a cinematographer, it's one of the things that I'm always very peculiar about, which is there is a science to the colors that I use in my films. There is a mood. There's a reason why, and rightly as you say, I think it would help if a lot of businesses actually leveraged on the science of neuroplasticity to aid their marketing and things like that. So you also mentioned something on your website, which is branding versus marketing. Right. So first of all, is there a difference between neuro-branding and the conventional branding that every company does?
Right. So neurobranding is basically branding that's supercharged by neuroscience.
If I'm a business owner, now how can this help me commercially in terms of the differences and how I can apply this to my business? I mean, I know we've sort of gone over like a very surface description of that, but let's say I'm a 500 Fortune dollar company owner right now, and I say, okay, Lareesa, sell me on this neuro-branding. How would you give it to a 101 layman explanation? The application of neuro-branding.
So the application of neurobranding comes in many layers. It depends on absolutely the resource that you have. Idealistically is you can apply fMRI machinery into your consumer insight program, which is when you take recordings of brain activities when they're shown different visual assets, right? That is one of the most accurate way to measure data, but obviously it's not the most accessible, seeing that fMRI is this giant machine that you have to